I know my way around a boxing gym. I'm about the only one in the sport, there's some people that are really skillful. I like to say, I'll drop names even. Like, I like the way Frankie Edgar's understanding. I like Masvidal's understanding. KJ Noon's, of course, he's a pro boxer. So the thing is, a lot of these kickboxers, they throw their punches all awkward and they're not tight. Like, look at the Aldo. He got hit. He's swinging wild out there, throwing looping punches at a guy who I was betting. I called that fight. I'm like, he's going to go straight down the middle, just like I would, and it's going to, with nice tight punches. You see, he works in a boxing ring. He works with headgear, and he puts his shoes on. You have these guys like, they don't know the way around a boxing gym. They don't have any. There's nobody that's in tune with the boxing community. You see, no offense, I like Rocco, but you see him walking in there, he'll go spar guys in a boxing gym with no shoes. And to me, that's really embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and the people in the gym are embarrassed for you. These guys they don't even pay no attention to MMA. They have no clue. They don't understand why these, it's just completely crazy. And the stance is completely, that's why everybody's like complaining about how we don't check kicks. I'm like, well, I'm not going to come out of my stance so I get knocked out. So yeah, you kick that leg all you want. You better be good at kicking I will check a kick too. So it's like, you got to watch out. But yeah, everybody's like, oh, he's heavy on that front leg. And it's like, well, he understands what he's working with here. And so as far as kickboxing versus boxing, the thing is, these kickboxers out there, they know they're going to kick a boxer, kick him right in the head or kick him right in the leg or grab him with a Muay Thai clinch. I'm like, of course you can. But then once you learn how to defend a kick and you understand how to break out of a clinch and, it's like you got to get back to a fundamental, you need to become reestablish your fundamentals when it comes to, boxing and the way that you throw your punches. And see, when I train my boxing, when I train my punches, I throw every punch correctly. Like my trainer's going to tell me, whoa, not like that, like this. He's going to tell you to throw it right, so that you throw the punch, you're protected at the same time. So it's not, but the thing is, the kickboxers don't have no concept of that. So that's what happens, I think, to a lot of these guys. Like, for instance, when Hendricks was knocking out all those guys, they were all kickboxing with kickboxing coaches, and they had no experience. If they had done one day of some of the sparring they would get stopped in 2 rounds by some of these boxers. I'm like, well, yeah, because I can't grab on and I can't kick. Well, yeah, no shit. Maybe you should learn how to punch so that you can stand your ground in there against somebody who can punch. That way, when you go fight in the UFC, you don't just get knocked the fuck out. But that's what I see. And a lot of those guys came out standing upright. Then he fights a guy. Then he goes in there and he fights Lawler. Lawler's a lot shorter than he is, and Lawler's got some actual. He's got some actual ability when it comes to boxing.
Yeah,
but he's been around for a long time.
He's got some power.
People looked at him like he was,
All right, so let's back up on Nate, because I'm not the only one to notice this. I mean, this is what all the internets are talking about. Nate's pay came out that he was 20-20. I don't even know what to ask you right now. I don't even know what to say.
It makes me sick. It makes me sick what I get paid. It makes me sick of what I have done in the past. And then when you see this guy come out and do really well, and it drives you crazy. Of course, I'm not going to jump out of line and say anything. I'm not planning on moving down to 145. However, if you were to get that, I don't want to jump ahead and say what I was about to say, but I've already fought at 3 weights before. I can do all 3 of those weights. Don't try to, it's not like you're trying to do something no one's done before. I mean, I didn't hold a title at those weights, but there's a lot behind that. It's not just, I never had any. I'm doing 4-4 and 2-2 and 8-8. I'm like, yeah, no shit. I'm like, it's not like, and I'm doing 3 to 5. Me and him, we're doing 3 to 5 fights a year. 3 to 5 fights a year. 17 years later, 37 some fights later. After a while, you realize there's more to life. You sit down, you have a drink, you get out of town, and you come to some understandings. And I think that's really important, and that's not the kind of thing that's going to happen to a guy that's coming out of Stockton, California, making 2-2 and 4-4 and 8-8. That's just not, it doesn't happen. So it took me a long time before I finally became established to where I could actually get out of my comfort zone and leave. The way I looked at it is I'm retired. I'm like, before I, started to learn anything. And when you come out of the gym there's not a time in my life where I did not have to put a workout in for the day. And after a workout, I become very militant during any sort of training session, and then come after, I'm still kind of a crazy person. I'm not easy to talk to, nothing. I notice it. I go and I try to hang out, and people asking me, they're like, "What's wrong?" Like, I had a training day. I was in Las Vegas, right? And I had a training day, and I go out, and Dillashaw's there, and a bunch of people are there. And everybody's like, "Oh, hey, like, what's going on?" I'm like, "Whoa!" I'm like, people are like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing." Quit asking me what's wrong. I'm still thinking about like what I just went through, and all these things that I was going over with my brother, that night. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop until you stop, and then once you stop, then you sit down and you just kind of come out of it. But it takes a minute, and I never had that minute because I haven't had a one break my entire life. And same thing with him, you'll notice, like he's just, he's stuck in he's stuck in the Stone Age back there. But I'm trying to help him, bring him to some understandings. It's a quick fix though, as far as I'm concerned. And they really sell him short, and they really both of us. But as far as the 20 and 20, and these guys are laughing or like thinking it's a joke. I'm like, no, dude, that's what he gets paid. I watched Rogan's podcast recently, and it's just that some of the stuff's kind of funny in there. I mean, I like what they're saying. Those guys are hilarious. But I mean, that if, like, for instance, if my brother's trying to fight somebody, he's not going to punch him in the face. I'm like, come on, he's not going to show up at the guy's door like, when he's on his way to breakfast. I'm like, no, fight's already signed, fight's already happened. Have I ever punched anybody that I wanted to punch before? It's like, it's not going to happen. However, I'm like, if this guy, he doesn't want to acknowledge what my brother said out there, it's like, in my opinion, that's a huge insult. It's like, hey, fuck you, who are you? I'm like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, who the fuck are you? And it's, you know what I mean? It's like the way I see it, I'm like, you're going to get punked out. We're all here, planet Earth, walking around. We got to be at the same places. It's going to, it's going to have, you want to get punked out in front of all your fans. I mean, like my brother's fighting for 20 and 20. It's like, you know what I mean? I think it doesn't really matter to him. You know what I mean? If he's doing a free fight out there over this kind of thing pisses you off, and it becomes a real, fight, on the outs.
Now, Nick, I haven't heard the Joe Rogan show yet. What did they say on Joe Rogan that?
They didn't say they didn't come off out of line or anything like that. It's just like a few things. I'm just like for instance, my brother, how would this work out? Like my brother's going to hit him or something before the fight happens. I mean, somebody could definitely get slapped up. But you know what I mean? And that could easily go both ways. But it's not. I mean, like Connor's on the show. Fighting back and forth with those guys too, and you don't see anything really happen. But things could happen. But they probably would happen on the outs, and they would happen on account of of nobody acknowledging the fact that of what's what. It's like, okay, like this, that never happened. I'm like, yeah, it happened. You can't lie to the fans. The fans know what they want to see. I know what they want to see. It's just, there's not much to be said about this. It's the fight. As far as I'm concerned, it's a fight that probably needs to happen.
Are you talking about Nate versus Conor needs to happen? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, or, you acknowledge this whole situation in one way or another. And I know it's the holidays. It's not like everybody's trying to jump on a podcast like I'm doing right now. But I mean, but I just figure, it is what it is. I mean, like you can't. My brother's definitely relevant. You can't just act like he's irrelevant. So this fight should probably happen as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they got these other guys that aren't very popular, even though they're holding the belt. So it's like, that's as far as I'm concerned, the belt's not important. It's the fights that are important. The money fights, the fans are important. It's the show. That means that's more money for everybody. That's, those are the numbers. That's more money for everybody.
You're definitely right. So. Now, Nate had done an interview after the post-fight press conference with Errol Hawani, and he said that he was expecting the Conor fight. Is there any talk of that, or he's just saying he wants the Conor fight?
Hey, I think Conor was saying that he wanted the fight too before, one time on account of somebody pulling out because they were hurt. I think he was asking for the fight too. So, give him what he wants. And he wants to move up. I'm like, do you want to fight that you want to fight that Dos Anjos? Another thing is, when my brother did those fights, a lot of people, things get really misconstrued on account of like a couple of fights my brother did. First of all, I want to talk about the Thompson fight. I wasn't there for him, and a lot of that was my bad. But I had to make ends meet myself. Like I said, I was in the middle of coming to a lot of these understandings that I've come to in the last year or two. I got my partner Martin Sano. He's really good. He's 13-1, one controversial loss. And nobody's looking at this guy, picking him up. They don't want him in the UFC or something. I'm like, wait, I don't understand why nobody is taking notice of this guy. He's knocking people out. He beat one of Jackson's top guys or whatever, prospect that was supposed to go to the UFC. And then when Junior beats him, no one's talking about him. But I don't mean to fly off subject, but, what was I saying here?
You were talking about whether or not Nate would be fighting Conor, and then you were saying that some of his previous fights were misconstrued, and you were talking about the Josh Thompson fight.
That's right. Yeah, the Thompson stuff. The Thompson 2 fights, right? So you have the Thompson. First of all, they've never got along. My brother's really, really, really mad. During that fight. A lot of times in that fight, I'd say that Thompson was also close to getting finished too. And any point in time in that fight, if my brother was if my brother was like doing a little more trying to survive in that fight. Instead of, rushing in and trying to just demolish this guy who he really can't stand, especially at the time. I think those were a lot of his issues. And me not being around for his training camp for that fight, I think was a lot of his issues too. There's a lot of things I see from the outside. Same with him. He's got to be, he's always around for me. And then I let him down there for that fight, and I let him down for the DeSantos fight, and then the when he fought Henderson too. There's something weird with that fight. I couldn't really understand. He was actually in pretty good shape, I think, for that fight, and none of us saw any of that coming. Henderson actually amounted. I'm actually pretty impressed with that guy. They fighting at 170 and everything like that. That's pretty crazy. At first I want to just go like, this guy's got to be on steroids. I'm pretty convinced about everybody is on steroids. I mean. Everybody. I'm the only one, and me and my brother, a few guys, I don't think Frankie's on steroids, but these guys a lot of them they're on steroids, and that stuff messes with the chemicals in your head. That's why they get a little weird act to them. They hang out with, I don't know, whatever. I'm just talking shit on everybody right now because as far as I'm concerned, everybody's on steroids. George St. Pierre was on steroids when I fought him. The guy, and you know what, somehow that it's not news. I put this out there. Somehow it's not news. This guy didn't make weight. He missed weight by 3 pounds or more. When I fought him, it's like 1 pound allowance. It's not even a 1 pound allowance during a title fight. So that fight shouldn't have been a title fight, and I should have got an immediate rematch.
Nick, George missed weight. Why do you say that,
bro? He missed fucking weight. He fucking missed weight. He didn't make weight. How is that not news?
I didn't know about this.
News. That's not.
Start from the beginning.
No, Michelle Hamilton come up to me, and that's why they wanted that fight over there. That's why they wanted that fight over there, so he could fucking cheat. I would have knocked that motherfucker out. He's not as good as me. There's no way that guy is as good as I am. There's fucking no way. He's strong. Held on the whole fight. And in Pride FC and real rules and real fights, like that's not you. You fucking didn't fight the whole fight. I'm over here trying to fight. Neither of us are fighting now because you fucking holding on to my leg, holding on to me around the waist the whole fight. And any time you're not, you're getting punched up. So. He didn't make weight, and then also they didn't test us because I would have tested positive for sure on that fight. I thought it was my last fight ever. What do I care? It's not enough to, it's like almost asking too much to win and not give away that fine. I'm like, what do I care about the fine? You know what I mean? It's like when a guy come in wearing like all sorts of funny colors and stuff like that, fighting me in Stockton, California, and coming out to fight me in Stockton, California, wearing funny colors. It's not enough to just come out and beat me. No, you're going to talk shit to me. You're going to wear funny colors, and I'm going to beat you up. I don't even want to shake hands after the fight. That's one thing I really regret too is I never got a chance to. I grew up a little mature a little bit. And I wanted to. I want to apologize to that guy. Thomas Denny.
Yeah.
Here I am. I beat him up in front of his family, and I gave him all sorts of fuck yous and like all sorts of I don't give a fucks. And it's just, I feel bad about that now. And if I could see him face, I even wrote him a direct message one time. I never got a response. But, I'd like to apologize. I don't know if he's listening to this or if he does. I apologize for, I understand now. He had to build his, he's trying to build a big fight. I don't think it was worth it. I don't, really, because I doubt he was getting paid that much. And none of us were back then. But, that's so I didn't mean to fall off subject there either, but I've got a lot of stuff I've been wanting to get off, especially that George St. Pierre stuff. That's ridiculous. That dude needs to come back, give me another fight, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I can fight. But
stay on the weight for me just for a second.
They did not test him for steroids in that fight. They didn't test us. So, it was like I pissed into like a film case. You ever seen a film case, like an old school, roll film?
Yeah, with a little cap on it, yes.
I literally pissed into a film case, and they popped the top and put a piece of Scotch tape over it and wrote my fucking name on it and set it in the little box with everybody's specimen, everybody's piss right there, little film cases, little tape over it. It's not like when I was fighting in California, the whole WADA thing comes in or whatever, and it's like they give you this plastic case, and then they pour the piss into that case, and then they twist it and lock it up somehow, right? So you can't open it. They have to put it in a machine that opens it. So you can't open it. And they say, here, try to open that. And then they slice like 3 parts in the tape, and then they put it over the top. So you can't peel that off and change the names or do anything like that. So the fight out, they didn't test nobody for no steroids. They didn't test nobody for any smoking weed out there in Canada, and they didn't make him. He didn't have to make weight. I should get another fight just by default on account of him not 3 pounds over. And then I really fucked up by not walking up to the scale and looking at actually how much over he was, because he could have been 7 pounds over. I don't fucking know. I mean, they're in Canada, and it's their beloved George St. Pierre. It's like, okay, so that that's what happened there. So you get a lot of guys like you wonder about the what's his name, the guy my brother fought for the title, because it just didn't. A lot of things didn't make sense to me in that fight. How he was, I'm like, if I had that leg lock, like I'm a lot better at finishing when it comes to a leg submission. I'll break. I don't go for it because I'm not desperate to jump on somebody and try to take them down and tap them out. I'm like, I'll stand in front of you. I'm like, throw something, motherfucker. It's like, I don't need to. I don't have to win like that. And the one time I was chasing KJ Noons down like that, why? Because everybody was telling me, I was buying into everybody's hype. It was like, okay, no, just take him down. You got him. Just take him down. And everybody's like, yeah, man, you got this. Just take him down. I'm like, just take him down. Why am I working on my boxing? So in that fight, I had better boxing. You can see that I wore on that dude after the first round. I was going to beat him. They stopped the fight. I had a little bit of blood in my eye. I had a few cuts, but you know what? Like, they shouldn't have stopped. There's no way in the UFC they would have stopped that fight. They would stop that fight because there were some weird doctors out in Texas. It was Corpus Christi. It's probably the first time they ever had a fight out there. That doctor was freaking out. He stopped the fight, and I won that round. I was going to win. The guy had nothing left. I look across the cage. He's panicking. He's freaking out. He had to cut too much weight back then. I don't think he was. He wasn't as capable of doing that back then. It's easier for everybody when they get older. Going up in weight, going down in weight. You have a little more understanding of how your body works. But so yeah, I became frustrated in that fight. And he was here and diving, chasing this dude for a takedown. So that kind of thing happens. But anyways, what I was saying to my brother was, what I was saying about my brother is, he fought that dude. That guy was probably on steroids too, as far as I'm concerned. There's something weird about that fight. And not to make all the excuses, but that's just the facts that that's what I see. And then as far as the RDH fight, he was fucking hurt, man. He had to take a week off for his 3 last weeks of training, like the week in between there. He took the whole week off. I'm going like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, he's hurt. He's going to see a therapist, fixes, trying to, so, and then it's crazy because sometimes I'm like, how the hell you not do what I do? I'm like, can you get out there and you ride fucking 3 miles, you run 5 or 6 miles. This is what you have to do. It's not like a question. It's like, this is what you do, and I wasn't telling him to do that. This fight around, I told him, I'm like, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how we get shit done. All right. This is how you are going to do it. I'd want to hear the same thing from him, and he'll tell me. And so I tell him, and look, he goes in there fucking, all ripped to shreds, looking perfect. And another thing is he wasn't doing 3 fights a year. And they jammed that fight right up in your face. Same thing with the fights I was doing. Any of those fights I was doing that I lost a post decision, it was like, I didn't get 3 months of training and all of what one does. Before these guys fight 2 times a year. My brother, I'm talking 3 to 5 fights a year. So if you're cutting all the way down to 155 from like 185 to 190, like you're gonna one of those 3 times out of the year, you're gonna fall short. And that's usually the case with him. You know, nobody's ever treated him like a champion, like a draw that he is. I'm like, he sells all those shows. They put him on an undercard of somebody who's not popular, and then he sells the whole fucking show, and then those guys take home the pay-per-view. That's insane. That's I will never do that. I'm the fucking main event. I'm who people want to see. Otherwise, and I have fucking 100 people coming up to me a day. I can't walk down the street. You know what I mean? Don't tell me I'm not important. You know what I mean? So same thing with him. I'm like, sometimes he might as well be me. They think he's me. They think I'm him. They call me Nate. They call him Nick. So, you know, that's, and it's, you know, he could be, you know, I just think that, you know, they should give him what he wants. And they should give the fans what they want, as far as I'm concerned.
Which is the McGregor fight, you're saying?
Yeah. Yep. I'm like, you know, I don't mean to make all these excuses for him, but I was there. Like, that's what happened in those 3 fights that he, you know, fell short. And I think he could. I honestly do believe that he can win any of those 3 fights. You know, with the right preparation, he can win any of those 3 fights.
Sure.
But yeah, he's really good. These fucking guys are not as good as him. And I, you know, it's almost like, I don't like to predict fights or say what will or won't happen, but you know, it's the way it looks to me is like a really hard matchup for anybody right now with my brother. You know, he's matured into a really solid understanding of what he needs to do and how he needs to do it and what's what. And so have I. So anything that's not, you know, working the way it should, I'm going to point out and I'm going to put, you know, I'm going to put a correction and tweak that until it's the way that it needs to be. So that's a whole new thing nowadays for the 2 of us. So me and him, me and myself and him.
Cool.
So, yeah, you know, I just,
Tell me this just so we can put a pin on this. Is Nate's contract? How many fights does he have left on his contract before he goes in to renegotiate?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care about a contract and all that. You know, that's where I got. You know, it's too much for me to look into that. A lot of times, it stresses me out. You know, like my deal. I don't know a lot about my deal. I have to ask. People are like, "What about your contract?" I'm like, you know what? At the time, I really didn't want to take the time to try and understand it. I'm stressed out, focused on a fight, and I've got people, you know, closing this deal for me. I'm not the one to know about it, and I didn't want to know about it. Now I have a little more patience to sit down and wrap my head around like how my contract works and what actually holds up and what doesn't. And in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what's on his contract. It matters what the fans want to see. It matters, you know, these guys want to make money too. You know, I want to make money. They want to make money. The fans want to see the right fight. They don't want to let the fans down. I doubt that they will. And they shouldn't. It's a joke if they do. So, you know, we'll see what happens on you know, with that. But, yeah, I don't know about his contract.
All right.
All I know is after the fact, I know what kind of money he was getting paid, and I don't care what's on a contract. I don't give a shit. I would have quit. I'd been like, fuck you. I'm not. What the fuck? I'm gonna buy a trailer and fucking live in a fucking trailer and grow some fucking garden in the backyard and try to. And try to be cool with it, you know, like it's just what, you know, I grew up around that my whole life. So what's it, you know, it's not the end of the world. I'm like, there's people starving in some countries, you know, I'm not going to cry while there is people starving in some countries. So, you know, however, I will bitch and complain about certain fighters, you know, getting more than what they deserve. And it's just a joke, you know, all of a sudden you have this one guy who gets everything. I'm like, that's great. I'm happy for him. You know, I don't like to be a hater. I'm not in any way any type of hater, but let's be real here, you know. Let's give the fans a fight that people want to see. You know, that's all I have to say about that. So I'm gonna try to get off of this call here.